Welcome everybody to another Wellness Wednesday. I'm Dianne Parnell, for those that don't know me, and my partner here, Becky Kehoe, is going to be my guest. What we want to talk about is health and wellness and just different things that we can do about it. So I am going to talk to Becky now. So hi, Becky. You
Hi.
want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I will start asking you some questions.
Yeah, perfect. I'm the teacher at Haven Ridge School of Hypnotherapy. I started the program here in Salmon Arm 2 years ago. So I'm excited that, we're moving into the third year of teaching hypnotherapy in the heart of BC. It's an amazing place to be here and being able to help create that new learning and that new environment here. I also have full-time practice as a hypnotherapist. I do fun aura readings and different advanced programs, and there's more coming out as we move into our next year here. So it's super exciting, all these new programs that we're going to be releasing. Of course, Dianne and I are doing one together, so just wait for that coming out. It's going to be great.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay. So you're a hypnotherapist and you teach it. So I
right.
have a question for you. What is the most common question that people ask you about hypnotherapy?
Right. So most often people will say, "Oh, am I going to bark like a chicken?" And they'll make funny noises. If I come to you, that's what you're going to make me do is make these funny noises or, have my hands locked together. And that's a hypnotist, not a hypnotherapist. So hypnotists, they have the ability to create hypnosis, of course, but they also generally do it based on the fact that they already know the client's going to do it. So they ask people to do things in the audience. They can tell that they're going to do those processes. And of course, there's a lot more to it than that, but they don't do hypnotherapy. So that's one of my favorite questions. And the second one is basically more of a statement where people will say, "Well, I can't be hypnotized. You're not going to be able to hypnotize me." And the fun thing is we don't actually hypnotize you. We do in a sense, but what it's about is the client being able to be hypnotized and being able to have trust, focus, and connection emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, one of those four areas, in order to go into hypnosis themselves.
Okay.
So when I say that, we can talk a little bit about focus. So the client being able to focus on how they perceive hypnosis. So it's not about me making them go into that state. It's about them allowing and the client themselves focusing on their own ability to go into that wonderful relaxed state. So I do that with perception. So how do they notice that? What are the different things that are coming forward to them, and how they can connect with themselves on that wonderful soul trance level. Also, trust, being able to trust the fact that you're in control. Control is a really interesting word in its own, and you're always in control in hypnosis. So the client being able to focus on that state of the fact that they're in control. This isn't about somebody else doing to me. This is about me going into this wonderful place of healing, and just allowing that little piece to kind of evaporate and having that rapport with yourself. So the other big thing is the connection emotionally, mentally, physically, or spiritually. Quite often we have stronger emotions, or we'll have a stronger physical aspect, or even a mental aspect that we can follow in hypnosis, or even spiritually. So we don't necessarily have to have one of them or all of them working at the same time, as long as there's an awareness of what you want to follow. So it could be like just a pressure in your neck.
Okay.
It could be an emotion that's overwhelming or strong. It couldn't be a story that somebody's told you. So those are kind of some of the things that people will present or ask about, and that's the easiest way to explain it.
I like that. One of the questions that I've been asked before about, because I've recommended you to several people, and some of them will say, "Well, I don't want somebody else in my head." So
Mhm.
how do you address that? And I think what they're saying is whether they don't want you knowing what's going on in their head, or whether they don't want to go there. So how would you address something like that.
Yeah, so I think that's great. Thank you. Realistically, I don't need to know anything. When we're doing hypnosis, the client, the person can tell me as little or as most as they want, or as much, sorry, not most,
Okay.
as they want. They don't actually have to give me an information. And it's not about the hypnotherapist getting into their story and really having to know all of those things. The fun is the client creates that magic for themselves. So
Oh,
they work inside their energy, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual, whatever that looks like. And when I say spiritual, I mean belief systems,
mhm.
and that connection of oneself. So if that word, it sometimes creates a little bit of energy for people, I can take that out of the equation for you. So just being able to like realistically kind of think it's not stage hypnosis. What it is guidance. Um, if you came to me for a first session, you're going to learn all about your perception. You're going to learn how hypnosis works for you. So doing self hypnosis. And then once you understand that, you'll see how that doesn't happen. Nobody gets in your head. You're in complete control. You have the focus. You have the trust. You have that wonderful ability to connect emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So
Oh, I
hopefully I
love that.
answered that for you.
Yeah, that answers it perfectly. I love the way you say that because I think that's what keeps a lot of people away from holistic practitioners is the fear that they're going to find out their story. And like you said, even in my work, I don't need to know your story,
Mhm.
because this is about them. It's not about us. And we're just there to facilitate that healing for them, right? And allow them to go wherever they need to go. So thanks for answering that. That answers that question, I think, perfectly for a lot of people because I know there is a lot of, I don't know if I'd call it fear, but angst because they're just not sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that's why often I find that the clients that come to me, they've gone to counselors, they've gone to psychologists, they've done some of these other things, the talk therapies and etc. And all of them have a beautiful role in the healing world, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's not the exact fit for them at this time, depending on
Yeah.
what step they're in, and the
Exactly.
sharing. Sometimes people are ready to share. So they're way up here in that ability to release and let go. And, sometimes you got to start at the bottom.
Yeah.
And so just respecting clients and meeting them where they need to be met, I think is
I
very
love that.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important as a practitioner that we need to meet our clients where they're at, not what our expectations are and what we know they could achieve, but it's where they are. And I know even in my work, a lot of people come in and they're terrified
Mhm.
because they don't know where they're going to go. That can be terrifying. I know it was for me,
Yeah.
and I always remember my brother saying that to me, that he was afraid to change because he was terrified of it being different but worse than where he was. So
Yes.
I see that a lot in my practice as well. So thank you for answering those questions. That I think brings a lot of peace of mind. Well, it does to me. And I've been hypnotized before, or done hypnotherapy. I guess I should get those words right. And it's brilliant. It truly is because it takes you to places that, for my own experience, I didn't even expect to go. And when you come back to being your whole self, you're going like, really? It's quite fascinating. I love it. So thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yes. Thank you. And I just want to touch base a little bit on what you just said. When we're used to a vibration, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't really matter what it is, it equals to safety.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so, quite often we forget that the subconscious mind is like a computer program. So
Yeah.
any of our belief systems, any of the events that become a norm for us equals safety. So,
Exactly.
when you were just expressing that change being
Yeah.
scary, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
exactly. And I often liken it to doing a defrag on their brain, but nothing will leave without their consent.
yeah.
If there's stuff that's ready to move, then it will move. And if it's not, then it won't. And I'm assuming that's the same with hypnotherapy, correct?
Yeah, we create new neural pathways, and you can
Okay.
change it, the content context with some positive vibration, without getting into another whole conversation.
Right.
Absolutely. You know, you make
Awesome.
those lovely changes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for that. There's another Wellness Wednesday under our belt, and we hope that you will join us again for Wellness Wednesday with Becky and Dianne.
Thank you
Thanks so
for
much
coming.
for watching.